Let's analyze Cambridge University Press IELTS Academic 15. Test 1, Text 1. Answers explained in detail. Let's find why you got it wrong. Did you struggle with any part of this test? Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to offer a step-by-step for each difficult question to explain how you or why you were probably tricked. If you've got a specific question, we've got timestamps down here, right here, so you can skip ahead to whatever question you need. But you might be watching and thinking, hey, I haven't got this book. Number one, you should change that. These are real old tests that's in this book right here. There's 4 of them. And if you don't, in the link down below, we've got a link. We do get a small commission since it's an affiliate link, but you can get this from Amazon right now. Link down below, just for you. I'm Michael from the IELTS Grind. Let's get started. Hoo-yah! Before we get started, you should have taken this test first. I hope that you would have used 4 colors. We have another video to say what that's all about. Go check that out if you want. This is for afterwards if you still don't understand why you got it wrong. That's why you're here. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, we're going to start at the beginning. Remember, we're not going to do every question. We're only doing the tricky ones. In this first section, the trickiest question was question number 3. So, the reason why question number 3 is tricky is because you need to know how to use the former and the latter. By the way, this structure, just to give you an example, China and Japan are both countries in Asia. The former is a massive country with more than 1 billion people. The latter makes robots very well. Here, clearly the former is China, the latter is Japan, and you can see that it always connects. The former means the first thing I said, the latter means the second thing I said. We can see the specific place where it is found in the text. In the first paragraph, in the last sentence, these are the sources of 2 spices, nutmeg and mace, the former being produced from the dried seed, and the latter from the aril. The former means nutmeg. So nutmeg is produced from the dried seed. That is why, number 3, the seed is used to produce the spice, nutmeg. Direct connection. But of course, if you don't understand the former and the latter, you can't answer it. Oh no, vocabulary! This is an interesting note. I tell my students that 99% of the time, the note in notes completion is always going to be in order. This is especially true if you have blanks. This one is a little bit interesting because the note from notes completion, this last one that's not connected to a question, is actually found earlier in the text than 3 and 4. Interesting. Next up, we have everybody's favorite. And by everyone's favorite, I mean everyone f***ing hates this one. I mean nobody loves it. I'll let you decide in post whether or not you want to keep that first one and just bleep.
That's twice now, Michael. For sake.
All right, guys. So, with question number 5, this is true, false, not given. First, we want to look at it to find the keywords and tricky word. Middle Ages is a keyword we need to find in the text where it talks about the Middle Ages. Europeans is another keyword. And new, so they know where nutmeg was grown. So the tricky word here is most. This is probably the word that they're going to change the meaning of the statement if it's different from the text. Remember, with true, false, not given, if it is in the text, it will always directly connect. First thing we need to do, see if they talk about this at all, given or not given. The answer is clearly in paragraph 2. They talk about Europeans and Middle Ages. We know this is the right paragraph. Now we need to find if they talk about Europeans knowing where it is. The correct answer is this sentence. They sold nutmeg for high prices to merchants based in Venice, but they never revealed the exact location of the source of this extremely valuable commodity. The reason why students struggle with this is for 2 reasons. Number 1 is referencing. You need to understand that they means not Europeans, it means the Arabs. And they here also means the Arabs. So the Arabs never revealed the exact location of the source to the Europeans. This again is referencing. They're not saying to the Europeans because it's repetitive. And it's tricky. That's how they're going to get you. Finally, this last referencing is a little bit easier, but you still need to see the connection. This extremely valuable commodity, nutmeg. So as you can see, the Arabs never revealed it. So did most Europeans know where nutmeg was grown? No. No Europeans knew where nutmeg was grown, or almost no Europeans knew where nutmeg was grown. So the answer, is it given or not given? It's given. They talk about it. Is it true or false? It is false because it's the opposite. Next up, we have question number 7. Another of your favorites. That's sarcasm. If you don't know what sarcasm is, you should look it up.
Really?
So, number 7 is really tough. Following the Treaty of Breda, the Dutch had control of all the islands where nutmeg grew. Part of this is easy because the key word, the Treaty of Breda, is really, really easy to find in the text. However, understanding this and the text and how it matches is the tricky part. Just like always, find the keywords and then the tricky word. The Dutch had control of all the islands where nutmeg was grew. That is the tricky word right there, all. This is a word that can easily change the meaning of the statement. Let's see if they talk about how many of the islands the Dutch owned. We can see that the answer is in the 5th paragraph, and it is a monster of a paragraph. We can then find the Treaty of Breda near the middle to the end. After decades of fighting for control of this tiny island, the Dutch and British arrived at a compromise settlement, the Treaty of Breda, in 1667. Ding ding, Treaty of Breda. However, we can see that there's referencing up here. This tiny island. We need to find out what tiny island they're talking about. Let's read some of the previous sentences. There was only one obstacle to Dutch domination. One of the Banda Islands, a sliver of land called Run, only 3 kilometers long by less than 1 kilometer wide, was under the control of the British. Okay. But what domination? We need to go even further forward. Even further back.
There we go.
In addition, all nutmeg... Okay. Basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'm going to summarize what they said up top. Basically, when they said domination, what they mean is the Dutch had complete control over all nutmeg production. You can read for yourself over there, but that's what they meant by Dutch domination. Almost had complete control. One obstacle to complete control. So do they own them all? Not yet. The island of the Banda Islands are owned by the British. So now we can see the Treaty of Breda in 1667, intent on securing their hold over every nutmeg producing island. Oy vey. We should have just started there. This means that the Dutch wanted to control every nutmeg producing island. The Dutch offered a trade. If the British would give them the island of Rum, they would in turn give Britain a distant and much less valuable island in North America. The British agreed. So, to summarize, this says, the Dutch wanted all the nutmeg producing islands. The British had one, and they traded. The Dutch wanted to trade with the British. I'll give you one island if you give me that island. The British agreed. That means the British accepted the trade, which means now the Dutch own every island. It's really tricky because the answer is spread out over the entire paragraph. So tough. Remember, you do not need to get every answer correct. Only a native speaker can get every answer correct. Only a native speaker could get every answer correct. You only need a 6.5, maybe a 7. If you can't get every question, don't worry about it. But it is important to see why you got it wrong. As you can see, referencing and vocabulary. Next, we're moving over to the table completion questions. All of these questions are in chronological order. That means in the order of time, which means if you skim the text, you should quickly be able to find them. because the text is also in chronological order. So lucky. Number 9 is tough. Number 9, demand for nutmeg grew as it was believed to be effective against the disease known as the This is tough for native speakers, but not so much for you guys. We know we can only use one word, and we know that it has to be a noun connected to the. This is tough for a native speaker because we know that the name of this disease is the Black Death. However, if we go to the text itself, to the 4th paragraph, where they talk about how it's used, at the same time, thousands of people across Europe were dying of the plague, a highly contagious and deadly disease. Doctors were desperate for a way to stop the spread of this disease and decided nutmeg held the cure. So nutmeg was the cure for what? Referencing. Nutmeg was the cure for the plague. The plague is the answer. That's the only answer it can be. The Black Death is number 1, it's too long. And number 2, the text says the plague. This is why you should always double check if you're using background knowledge to guess an answer. This next part, question 10, is tricky because they use different grammar. Put on nutmeg to avoid it being cultivated outside the islands. Now we knew where they were talking about that. It was what the Dutch were doing. So that is over here, paragraph 5. In addition, all exported nutmeg was covered with lime to make sure there was no chance a fertile seed, which could be grown elsewhere, would leave the island. This is tricky because of vocabulary. Cultivated outside the island means grown outside the island. And on nutmeg, put on nutmeg, you need to understand put lime on nutmeg means the same as the nutmeg was covered in lime. They will do this a lot. Number 1, they will paraphrase, as they did with cultivate outside the island. They gave a specific example to show that. And number 2, you need to understand the difference between active voice and passive voice. If you put lime on nutmeg, that's active voice. The nutmeg was covered in lime is passive voice. And they're using a different word, covered instead of put. So tough! Number 11 is not that tricky, but some low-level students may still be tricked. The IELTS exam does this a lot, where they will put names of similar things in the same paragraph, so you may write the wrong one down. Finally, obtain the island of from the British. Now, this is pretty simple grammar, and we know the answer is the island of Run in that same section. However, there is another island that they mentioned, the island of Manhattan. This was from the British. This was from the Dutch to the British. There was a trade. But it's pretty obvious if you understand the grammar that the island of Rum from the British means the British gave this island and they got the island of Manhattan. As I said, low-level students may be tricked if they don't understand this simple grammar. Number 12, 1770. As I said, they're in chronological order. Nutmeg plants were secretly taken to Now, we know this has to be a place, and this is where they will trick you. Remember, you can only choose one word from the text. Did any of you guys say Africa? If you did, you were tricked. Oh, terrible. Then, in 1770, a Frenchman named Pierre Poivre.
That's pronounced Pierre Poivre, which is ironic because it means pepper, and pepper is also a spice. Carry on, Michael.
Successfully smuggled nutmeg plants to safety in Mauritius, an island off the coast of Africa. It was not taken to Africa. And you cannot say off the coast of Africa, that's too long. The answer has to be Mauritius. Make sure you spell it correctly. You should never spell anything wrong on this test, because you just need to copy it from the text. Finally, we have question number 13. This is the same trick that the test was using in question 11, where they have different possible answers, but only one that matches the question. The text says volcanic eruption and volcano. Lower level students may write these answers instead of the correct answer, tsunami. Half of the Banaz Island nutmeg plantations were destroyed by a 1778, we found it through the keyword nice. Next, in 1778, a volcanic eruption in the Banda region caused a tsunami that wiped out half of the nutmeg groves. The volcanic eruption did not destroy the nutmeg. The volcanic eruption caused the tsunami, and the tsunami destroyed the nutmeg plantations. Oh, so tricky, right? The other reason why you know it's not volcano or volcanic eruption is because only one word. If you wrote volcano, you're wrong because it's not volcano in the text. If you wrote volcanic eruption, you're wrong because it's not two words. And you're also wrong because it wasn't the answer. Tricky. Be careful. If there was a question that you struggled with, please let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you like more videos like this, we can do more. Like I said, these are real old tests. This is probably the best IELTS reading and listening test material you can have. And I don't know if you're paying other teachers to explain it, but we can do it here, just for you. But only if you let us know. Like this video, and remember, you can buy this book in the link below. Alright guys, but that's not all. We also will help you with your speaking, and your listening, and your writing. If you want to work on your speaking, we have a Discord channel that is filled with other people who are also studying for the exam. You can meet them on our channel, and me and Phil will occasionally be stopping by to say hi as well. Also, if you have trouble staying focused and staying on task, we have a free study plan that goes when you sign up for our newsletter. And our newsletter is also awesome. It has tips once a week until you reach your goal.
Where's the reset button?
See you in another video, and I really hope that Phil cut that out. It'd be funny if that was just the end. Our students would be so... What's wrong with him?